Hi folks, I'm here today with Nate from Highland Park. Hi Nate.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. And we happened to find a tomato plant taking care of itself, and this is not in somebody's garden. This is just in the wild, where somebody probably had a tomato on their sandwich and the seed fell out. Well, one of the things that we're always talking about is how there's food everywhere in the world and how nobody should go hungry. So we look at the wild foods and the foods that the Native Americans ate. But you know, I garden sometimes too, but I'm a lazy gardener. Now, do you garden, Nate?
Yeah, I have a garden.
That's good. And so the way I determine what to grow in my garden is what takes care of itself. Yeah. Now, if you're in the eastern United States, it will be different. You know, if you're in Florida, if you're in Canada. But if one is observant to the plants that do well in their yard, you can always support their growth. Now, for example, I've planted things that they die. I say forget it. It's a lot of work. I mean, I marvel when I go into somebody's yard and they have pathways, and you can see they work all day long to have a beautiful vegetable garden. But if it doesn't grow and the bugs eat it, I try something else.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are very good to take care of themselves. Like this one's growing out here in the wild. On our beaches here in Southern California, we have something called New Zealand spinach. I grew a whole flat area of New Zealand spinach, and it's a perennial spinach that you don't have to pull up. It takes care of itself. If you're a lazy gardener, you have spinach year-round. Jerusalem artichokes, which are native to the eastern U.S., it's like a sunflower. They grow like weeds, so I grow those. They're very easy to grow. So I like the idea of being able to find things that do well locally and let them feed you, because the truth is most people have a busy life. You've got a lot of stuff going on in your life, right? You go to school, you go to work, you have children, you have family. Most people aren't going to spend all of the time, but they would like to have a garden that produces something for them. Now, in these mountains here in Southern California, there are old cabins where people over 100 years ago built cabins and they planted things that survived well. And a lot of them were plants that the Spanish brought over in the mission era, like mission olives. They brought over citrus trees. Those are awesome here in Southern California. Yeah. Grapes, figs. Figs do really, really well. So I encourage people to find those sorts of plants that readily go feral. Yeah. I do talk about it in my Extreme Simplicity book. If you try to get a copy, there's a new cover now in the new edition. But there are quite a few of those. What do you grow, by the way?
I have tomatoes.
Tomatoes, okay, see?
I'm also a lazy gardener. Things that grow well I leave, and other things I let die out.
Okay, so another lazy gardener, folks.
Got some red kale and some mustard greens.
And kale and mustard. I think mustard was the first thing I ever grew. Oh, when I was first gardening at my parents' house growing up, the Swiss chard and the kale grew really good. The corn was terrible, loaded with bugs. And one of the first things I learned was that rather than worrying about pest control, you worry about plant selection and you constantly improve the soil.
Yeah.
This is Gardening 101 reduced to the 25-cent version, folks. Thank you for listening. You can get this book, you can email and ask questions, and hopefully we'll do more about feral plants and gardening for your landscape. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you, Nate.